Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, here we are again. The other week there was a article about Roald Dahl's books. They were being re-released with minor edits. Some words which they thought were being used inappropriately towards children in the story had been changed. I didn't have a problem with that. They weren't changing the story or the subtext or the subversiveness of anything. They were just changing some words they thought would not fly today with parents and children, because they're publishers and they need to sell the books to children. They can't be damaging children or offending parents who won't then buy the books and read them to its children. So I understand why they did that. I think it's responsible. I don't have any issue with it, assuming it's done, very simply. Just some specific offensive words, remove them, that's it. Anything more than that is, changing the story, changing the text, censorship or something like that. You're going down that road. But as long as you're just replacing offensive words, I don't have any problem with that. Now, the new drama, the new issue people are getting upset about, because everyone needs something to get upset about every day, is Ian Fleming. Now, his Bond books have been re-released, or are being released in April for the 70th anniversary of the book series. Now, one of the things they're doing is they are removing racist slurs in the books. Now, I had no idea there were racist slurs in the books. I thought I read Goldfinger when I was a kid. I don't really remember any bad language in it, so I don't know. But all I know now is, for example, Live and Let Die. Apparently he goes to Harlem and he refers to every black person inside as the N-word. Now, I don't want to see that. I don't want to read that book. If I would like to read the James Bond books one day. It's sort of one of those things on a list to do. And if I was sitting there and James Bond was walking around calling black people the N-word, I'd put the book down. I wouldn't be able to read it, and I'd hate that character because they're obviously racist and disgusting, and it would be so offensive I wouldn't want to read it. So I can understand why the publishers wouldn't want to sell that book. So I can see why they're doing that, why they're changing it, and I'm totally here for that. If that's all it is, if they're just changing words like the N-word to black person, black woman, black man, then I don't see any problem with that. That makes perfect sense. And putting that in, the book itself, saying that that's what they're doing, to have a page where they're basically saying this book was written in these times and so forth, and that's why, in this context, blah, 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 and we remove this and that word and replace it with this and that, so people understand what they've done. So they're not trying to hide something or change something, secretively or anything like that. So I'm all for it. I have no problem with it. But I see a lot of racist people who are all upset and triggered because, oh God, they're taking, that word away from us. They're taking that word out of the mouth of one of our heroes, because some of those people like to think of James Bond as racist because he's used that language. They like to think that. So the idea of removing it, it's like taking their power away. They hate it. So some people are really triggered by it. Other people are afraid that, it's more than just the word and it's mounting or could lead to censorship and changing actual stories and, ruining them basically. And that is a danger, and, it shouldn't lead to that. I think there's a line here, and I think if we stick that line, we're fine. If we're just changing offensive words and just specifically trading them for another word, I don't see any problem at all. With Roald Dahl's books, calling kids fat and ugly, being a kid who grew up being called ugly and being called fat, it was damaging. I developed an eating disorder and some level of body dysmorphia. I don't think I see myself as I actually am because of what was drilled into me when I was a kid, that I was ugly. So the idea of an author putting in a book that a kid is ugly or calling a kid ugly, I can't understand why he would think that was okay. So if they've changed something like that, and I haven't read the book, so I'm not exactly sure, but I have no problem with that, because I don't think any child should be called fat or ugly. So if you can change that text, I'm all for that. I have no issue with that. And another issue that people were getting upset about was one of the things they're also changing in the Roald Dahl books were more inclusive language. Like if it doesn't specifically refer to a boy or a girl, they were just saying, children. Like, the monster eats children, not little boys and girls. I have no problem with that, because it's just more inclusive language. It doesn't, if it's not specifically needing to relate to or point out or specify a girl or a boy, then just say children. Why make a child that doesn't identify with boy or girl feel awkward or not part of, that book or that situation when you can just say children. I mean, I don't see any harm in that, within reason. So, and that's what this is all about. It's about being reasonable. And people are jumping to hystericals, saying we're basically, at Orwellian, level. We're like, it's 1984 already and all that. We're not there. I don't think we'll even get there. And this could be the start if it just kept going, sure. But I don't think it will. I think replacing simple offensive language so people, publishers don't have to keep putting it out and people can choose not to read it, because you can get both editions of the Roald Dahl books, the original or the edited. And I'm assuming they'll do something similar with James Bond. If they don't, well, the originals are always there. You can't erase that history. And the ironic thing that I can't get past, and I can't keep this video to 5 minutes, let's try and, is the people who are upset about this are the same people who want all the history books edited and removing all, anything about race or gay people or trans people, and they're stopping, people from referring to being gay or their families being gay or someone in their family, being gay, their parent being gay. They're censoring, banning, don't say gay. They're putting that out there. And they're the same people who are screaming that, you're going to take the N-word out of a white man's wet mouth. Or it's just insane. It's just insane. Like, the same people who can't handle this are the ones who are behind actually, censoring black history, removing gay history, basically whitewashing everything to where it's all about white people who are perfect and don't do anything wrong and never did anything wrong in the history of the world. And those are the people who are upset that, they're going to stop calling little kids fat and ugly and calling black people the N-word, because they don't want that. They don't want to lose that, because that's power to them. And just the idea of removing that from them feels like they're losing power. They're losing some of their, white supremacy. And that's some people being triggered. That's what that's about. Not everyone. Some people are worried about, genuinely censoring and changing books and so forth. I get that. Then you have the other people who are, so I think you just need to be sensible about this, rational about this, not racist, and, you should be able to handle the idea that as time goes on, publishers are going to change editions of books to go with the times. You can't keep putting out the same book for 70 years and have it stay relevant or not offensive. It just can't happen. Not when you come from a period, like the 50s and 60s where these books were originally written. Maybe 50, 60 years from now, we won't have that problem with books because we won't be saying anything that will be offensive in 50 to 70 years, but we won't know till then because those people didn't know then what they were doing. So, yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Sorry for the long video, but I just couldn't keep it short. But, it's just, I can't get past the racist people who are upset about this, but yet they want to remove, people of colour and gay and trans people from, schools and history, and just, it's just the hypocrisy and ridiculousness is frustrating. But I do acknowledge that, there is potential for danger here so far as censorship. That's not what this is. But I get that it opens that up and some people could be genuinely concerned about that. But I don't think those are the people causing the noise. It's the other people who are afraid of losing their white power. So, we'll see. I'm fully going to buy all the James Bond books, the new ones, and I might even buy a couple of the Roald Dahl classics without, Fat and Ugly. So if I want to sit down and read them and try and remember what it was like being a child, I won't be reminded of what it was like to be called fat and ugly. So yeah, that's a good thing. I'm going to go.